Well, good morning and welcome to the second day of Rock the Future's State of Our Children address. Today, we're highlighting the parent's perspective with a guided conversation on the impact that COVID-19 has had on education and ways we might best take on the new landscape. This presentation is sponsored by the Greater Rochester Health Foundation, whose mission is to pursue and invest in solutions that build a healthier region where all people can thrive. My name is Tiana Stevens, and I'm the Communications Officer at the Health Foundation. It's my privilege to MC today's event. I'm a parent of 4 myself, so I personally appreciate opportunities when parents are lifted up as the stakeholders that we are. Although we can't be together in person this year, we're thrilled to welcome you here today, and we thank you for inviting us into your living rooms, home offices, or workplace. This is meant to be an engaging and interactive discussion with the audience. So we welcome you to send us your questions through Facebook. You can also join the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag SOOC2020. Our panelists today are Kilolo Moyo White, Rock the Future's Community and Family Specialist, Khadija Muhammad, Director of the Office of Parent Engagement at the Rochester City School District, and Maria Cruz, PCAN leader and family peer advocate for the Mental Health Association of Rochester. Thank you, ladies, for your time today. So if we see or hear a little one during the event, that is absolutely fine. It's just going to add a little bit of sunshine to our day, so there's no need to apologize for that. Well, this year's State of Our Children report card, available at rockthefuture.org, underscores that education is a community effort and that learning doesn't happen exclusively at school. Families and communities play an important role in children's learning. My first question is just kind of a temperature check. How are the children? How have your families adjusted to this new model of education? What's happening in your homes? We'll start with Khadija.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So I am the proud mother of a freshman, just started high school this year. And the transition has been kind of difficult in light of the fact that, normally when your kids get to high school, I think the outlook is that, they're older, they don't need that support. And they recently switched from being in-person learning to online learning in the last week. So it's working from home, it's supervising from home, making sure that he still gets to his class on time. He has finishes all of his assignments, but we're working it out. We're going to learn to kind of grow as we go.
Right. And Kilolo, what have you found to be some of the benefits and challenges of at-home learning?
Well, good morning. Yes, at-home learning is like a roller coaster, as I kind of look at it. It has its highs, it has its lows. There are good days, bad days. And we're really just taking it as we go each day. I try to give myself a little grace sometimes and not beat myself up too much. But I feel like we have a lot more family time. I'm thankful that I'm able to work more at home. And so I know all families don't necessarily have that privilege and that opportunity, but we're not rushing off to drop everybody off to different things all the time. So it's a lot less stress in that instance. However, as Khadija mentioned, it's a lot of micromanaging and multitasking all day. And so there's like less separation from work and home. And so that's pretty challenging, but we do a lot more cooking together. We do extended learning and extended activities together, and kind of life lessons that I try to teach my boys. And even some of my boys, they've decided that they want to be carpenters and learn how to build things. And so they've been helping around the house and learning how to build things in the house with my husband's friends and things like that. So it has its benefits, and it also has a lot of challenges because I don't get as much time as I want to myself, but I'm learning to deal with it.
Right. I definitely relate to all of that. And I'm enjoying this bonus time having kids home with me. Maria, how has your family been impacted by distance learning? What have you been hearing also from other parents as you're the family peer advocate? So in terms of challenges.
So, well, thank you, and thank you for having me here. Well, as a parent, my experience has been a little bit different. So right before this happened, my children happened to have returned to a school setting. I was
Mm.
homeschooling for 2.5 years, but homeschooling could not prepare me for this pandemic. Believe me, when you are in charge of the curriculum and instruction and the activities, so it's totally different. During the 2 years that I was homeschooling, we focused on life skills, doing the laundry and cooking and financial literacy and all these things. Now, when I'm not the one in charge of the lessons and the instruction, it's kind of difficult if you don't have that communication with the teachers, if you don't have that relationship with the teachers. That's what I tell parents, and I empower parents and encourage them to be involved. The teachers cannot do the work alone. And yeah, we're seeing it right now, how challenging it is also for the teachers within the classroom, that if you don't have that communication, that relationship with that teacher, is very challenging, and not impossible, but very difficult to be able to provide that education that the children need at home. What I've been hearing about other parents, as September approached, parents were going literally insane. The anxiety level was so high. Parents were trying to take the kids out of the district and homeschool, and you're trying to, bring light to the situation and say, stop it. Some of us are not equipped to do this alone. At least you have the support of a teacher. So it was kind of hard. Balancing the anxiety of the parents, the fear of the COVID-19, and the uncertainty of what was coming next. So parents were very anxious. Parents are still going through the anxiety. The fact that some parents are not don't have that access to the teachers, to the buildings, to the school, is very, very challenging. And parents are honestly and and we have to validate their fears and their worries. We all want the best for our children, no matter what your background is, what your social economical background is.
Mhm.
Everybody want the best for the children. So parents are willing to do the best they can at home, but they're not equipped. So it has been very challenging for parents, especially parents that have children like mine that have social challenges. It's very hard to try to keep children on a screen when on a regular basis we're trying to keep them away from that screen. And
Right.
children that have social emotional challenges, it's very, very hard because they don't have that interaction one-on-one with the teacher and with their peers, and that's exactly how they learn most of the time. So yeah,
Mhm.
a lot of anxiety in the community.
Right. Thank you for your response. Khadijah, along those lines of parent involvement from your place at OPE, how has distance learning impacted, parents being involved, and what is your office doing to help with that?
So, distance learning has definitely impacted parent involvement. Of course, even being a community of Black and Brown folks, we're relational, right? So we like to engage. We like to be in front of each other. Parents like to be able to come into the schools, come to central office, and that's a huge part of what Office and Parent Engagement, does with our parents when they come in. We help problem solve. So currently, with the pandemic and having to do things virtual, we had to switch gears. We had to switch our parent meetings to virtual settings. We had to set up time where if, say, our parents were struggling with getting on, technology and using technology, that struggle is you can't teach technology through technology if they're having sign-on issues. So, creating a space to walk parents through over the phone as best we can. We've been taking a lot of phone calls, which is kind of getting parents set up with Parent Portal, so that they can see their child's grades, attendance, and be interactive in that way. We've offered to have, small gatherings with our parents, very small, making sure that we're abiding by all CDC guidelines. If parents need to come in and actually get that face-to-face training on Zoom, we've recorded videos, partnered with our communications and technology departments to kind of record videos that would help walk parents through using Google Classroom and Seesaw. But the biggest part is just being available, being a listening ear, and trying to help them navigate through this remote learning world, because it's challenging for us. We're parents, even as educators and working in this field, we don't know everything about the technology. So, as Maria was saying, being able to listen to what those needs are and, rise to that challenge of helping parents is what Office of Parent Engagement has been doing.
That's great. Kilolo, what are some of the things that parents can do at home to mitigate the amount of learning loss that has happened in the last year?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. Well, I've looked at or if you have an opportunity to look at the report card that Rock the Future has published, the data is showing that the amount of learning loss is going to be beyond a year for students. And so we want to do whatever we can. And so some of the things that I would encourage parents to do is really tap into any of the parent portals, Facebook pages, parent groups that you can join that are virtual, or even in your direct neighborhood and community, connecting with other parents, because there are a lot of resources that are out there. I know that the Free Library here in Rochester also has a shared book program, so that if you don't have a large library of books in your home, you can have access to those books from the library. They will, you can do a pickup, like a curbside pickup from the library to get those books. And you can also rotate those books out based on the level of your child. So I would encourage parents to do that. Also, I like tapping into some of the online learning platforms as well, like Starfall. Some of my youngest child, and I forgot to say this. I don't know why I always do this, but I try to separate myself from being a parent sometimes because I feel like I'm a woman too. Anyway, um, but I have a 1-year-old daughter. I have a 7-year-old son, and then I have an 11-year-old son. So the learning spectrum is very vast in my home, but we have a lot of books in my home. So we do reading all the time. But we also, my children love Starfall, so that's like an online program. There's also PBS programs that are free. There are some programs that have subscriptions that you can do research on, but I would definitely encourage parents to research those programs because the subscriptions can be kind of expensive. But there are also a lot of free programs that a lot of companies are publishing and providing for parents as well because of the pandemic. And then the last thing that I would encourage parents to do is just to remember the importance of play and really just having fun, laughing with your children. In this time, find ways to extend your learning with your children. Remember what your passions are, right? And build off of those passions. So if you were in theater years ago and you don't have an opportunity to do that anymore, create a play for you and your children, right? And have them act that play out at home. Paint, do music together, dance, sing. I would say that this is the best time to really incorporate culturally responsive teaching. Like, bring your culture into your home and explode it. Make it really vast, make it really big. Do those deep dives into who you are, who your background, your family trees. Really talk more at home. That's really the gift that I think that this pandemic has given families. And so I would really encourage families to do that.
I love all of those ideas, and I know that Rock the Future's newsletter is always full of those great extra learning resources. So thank you for that. Maria, you're a pecan leader. We're not talking about the pie, even though I want some. Tell us, what is pecan? What does that stand for? And how can other parents get involved?
Sure. And before I go into that, Kilolo, if you tell that to my children, they'll be like, my mom cannot dance. They hate me dancing. I always embarrass them. So PCAN stands for Parent Engagement Collaborative Action Network. And we are just a group of parents working with Rock the Future. We look at parent and family engagement, understanding the importance in all decision making, from implementation to execution. Parent and family engagement is instrumental for all successful strategies for school and community. Additionally, family engagement is inclusive of providing parents the tools, resources, and support they need to be engaged in the decision-making process in a way that is transparent and authentic. We are a group of parents that we get together and we strategize around different situations in the community, what's happening right now, and we provide that information to parents. We have um, a monthly meeting, community meeting, where parents are welcome to join, and we have resources from the community for parents, and parents are welcome to ask questions, get their network to be wider, and get the resources that they need to whatever situation or topic we are discussing that month.
Right. And we say parents, but we mean caregivers, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, anyone that's involved in the education of a child.
Yes.
So thank you. And anyone is open to join the group.
Yes, they are. And I believe, Kilolo, can you share how they can join?
Absolutely. So on a monthly basis, actually, if you go to Rock the Future Pecan Facebook page, we have an open public Facebook page that anyone can join. And on that Facebook page, we really encourage, and we have daily posts of various resources that are community-wide, some free food programs or free backpack giveaways. There were quite a few at the beginning of the year for that, those types of things. And so it's really just participating and coming to our monthly meetings. And if we really want to expand our parent leadership table, and all that means is just deciding that you want to be more of an active role and plan what those meetings are, because it's the parent leaders that actually plan what's going to be on our agenda. As the family and community engagement specialist with Rock the Future, I started as a Pecan parent leader. I actually came here and I was 9 months pregnant with my daughter. And at my first Pecan meeting, Maria remembers, and the very next day I gave birth to my daughter. And so ever since then, I was really hooked on just being a parent advocate and following the roles of and the leaders like Maria Cruz and your husband, Eric Stevens, also. And we wanted to make sure that we mentioned that even though this is a panel of mothers, that fathers in our community are very active and very engaged. And so we would be remiss to not acknowledge the great fathers that are all over the community that are working hard to support their children as well and being advocates for their children. So.
Right, absolutely. And I know in Rochester, just over the past few years, we've really seen an increase in engagement groups specifically for fathers. So that's all wonderful news. Khadijah, how much responsibility should a school district play in defining the parent's role in being a partner with teachers, staff, and school administrators?
So as I said before, it's really truly about relationship building and building that capacity for the district to assist parents. So that role, so to speak, I think belongs to the parents and not necessarily the school district making the parents be engaged. You really have to listen to the individual needs of your parent population and encourage them even to come to the table. Because for us, parents are the key ingredient, right? They're the ones that are the first teachers. They're the ones that know their kids best. So when it comes to working on the education side, it's being able to partner with parents and not the other way around, that, the parents are partnering, so to speak, with us. And I know it's a play on words, but what I really want to hit home is the importance of parents being recognized as those decision makers, as those leaders, and inviting them to the table. So I think the responsibility of the district is providing those opportunities for parents to sit at the decision-making tables, the opportunities to join the Board of Education committees that we have, the opportunity to join the district parent groups, the Parent Advisory Council, Bilingual Education Council, our Special Education Parent Council is very instrumental and advocating for the needs of students with special needs in our district. So that's the role that I think the district should play. with making sure that they build that capacity for us to partner with our parents and recognize them as true leaders.
Right. What do you guys think some of the barriers are in terms of parents being able to be involved? And I know COVID-19 has also just added to those challenges.
Well, I'll say it depends on what time meetings are held. That is a big barrier and topic of discussion. When you want parents to come to the table, it has to be some type of mutual conversation and collaboration of having meetings, towards the evening hours. We have parents that work, and then you have parents that are not traditional 9 to 5s. They may be second shift. So giving the opportunity to have meetings not only in the evening, but also, during the day. And again, just trying to make sure those meetings are within hours that fits your parent population and those individual needs.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just jump in there real quick, I think another major barrier for a lot of parents is our perspectives that administrators and sometimes teachers have that parents don't want to be engaged, right? And I don't even think that really exists in a parent. It's like not even possible almost, where because the reality is that you don't know what their situation is. You don't know what the challenges and struggles that parent is dealing with to really actually be heavily engaged. And as Khadijah said, sometimes it might be the time. Sometimes it might be the fact that that parent has to work, it is required to work for, whatever hours that they are required to work. And believe me, that parent is struggling because of that fact that they cannot have that time with their child that they really actually want. It's based off of whatever their situation, their life situations are. And so it's important that providers, organizations, administrators, that you always have the best intention for a parent to know that parent has the best intentions for their child. They are the expert. They know what is best for their child. So when you approach them or when you invite them to participate, make sure that you come welcoming them. Make sure that you come with listening, right? And open ears, that you're listening to them and what their needs are, and understanding, empathetic to whatever are the challenges that they may be experiencing that's hindering them from being able to be actively engaged in the way that you might think that they should.
Right. Absolutely.
I want to piggyback on what Kilolo said and what Katisha was saying. The concrete barriers here most of the time are time, childcare,
Mhm.
dinner time, and the meetings usually happen at that time. So if we have to learn something from COVID that is positive, is that this forum works, virtual works. You can access the parents virtually. Parents have more access. They can be even at work and be connected on that call and not being a participant, but at least listening to the conversation. Those are the concrete obstacles that we see. But also, like Lolo was saying, and like I always tell every parent, it really takes a village to raise
Mhm.
our children. How are you including that village in your family? You need to have a relationship with that teacher. You need to have a relationship with the school, but also the school needs to start talking to parents, not at parents, and we need to include parents at the table. I believe that parents should be involved in every decision making conversation when it comes to our children. We know our children, they're the best. So to tell the parent, I know what is good for your child, is very disrespectful. So opening that door, communication, so that parents feel comfortable to come to the table and say, hey, I think this might work. And that, the people in that position say, hey, well, let's try it, because we know our children best. Yes, they know, they have the degree and they have, the experience, but I know my child the best.
Mhm.
So that I think that including the parents in all those conversations is crucial.
Right. And I know I've been watching the Pecan Parent Facebook page, Maria, and there's been a lot of great events over the past 6 months. Tell us about some of those events and then what's coming up for Pecan.
So most of the things that we've been doing at Pekin are those meetings that we have every month. We had a conversation with Dr. Leslie Myers. We included parents' voice in that. We had a conversation in the past about the trauma, the things that were happening in the community with the Black Lives Matters movement and the death of George Floyd. We also had a conversation in regards to COVID-19 and how parents were feeling. Parents were able to come to this space and kind of debrief and walk away with some kind of relief or kind of sense of let's begin the healing. What's coming forward, moving forward with Pekin. Kilolo can say more about that since she's part of the planning. But yeah, the fact that we had this space for parents to come and be surrounded by other parents and share, what we all going through is part of the healing process. And we're trying to shift this thing around and move forward towards the healing.
Right, absolutely.
Thanks so much, Maria. So our next parent event or parent meeting is on December 3rd. It's usually our meetings are on Thursdays and they start from 6:30 to 7:30, or no, excuse me, 6 to 7:30. And so we just have really once a month meetings. Our parent leadership table meets in between those that monthly meeting to plan what's going to happen at that monthly meeting. Some of the other things that Pecan leadership also does is the purpose of Pecan is to provide a parent voice at the table of Rock the Future stakeholding sessions or tables. So we have the school readiness outcome team or the high school graduation outcome team or early grade literacy outcome teams. At these tables, there are decision makers that are planning activities or planning programming for children. And so because of that, there must be parent voice at those tables. And so the goal and the role of Pecan is to allow and to provide an opportunity and space for parent leaders to join those tables so that they can be influential decision makers and to let them know, well, we don't agree with that, or we can take this back if this is something that is being scheduled or planned to be implemented into the community. It's important for parents to vet this first, and then we will be able to let you know if that's something that we agree and we feel that will be helpful and assist parents. So that's a part of the mission and the purpose of Pecan. So.
Wonderful. And Khadija, obviously, Pecan is a great model to follow. What are some of the best practices for parent engagement and community involvement that you've experienced in your career, along with Pecan?
So I would have to say true collaboration and adults leaving their feelings on the table, at the door, and really coming together on what's best for the child. Respect goes a long way. There's often, different opinions, and which is okay, because I think within the expertise, again, of Parents First and understanding, the strength of having parents at the table, you also have to kind of check, Maria spoke about having degrees and being in rooms with others that may have a certain degree in something. But for me, it's the parents that bring the biggest expertise. So some of those best practices are respect, learning to do a lot of listening versus talking. And within that, making sure that you're listening to understand instead of just replying. So once you take out those dynamics and there's really truly that foundation of being respectful towards each other's opinions and understanding that you can agree to disagree, but that common goal and that end result is what's going to be best for the children, and allowing parents to say what's going to be best for their child.
Right. Maria, I do want to ask, how are our ELL students and families faring during all of this?
So, as the parent of a child that has social challenges, it has been very overwhelming. Trying to deal with the condition, the diagnosis, however you want to call it, and these challenging moments, our children that have social, like my child, she has social challenges. It is hard when she cannot be social, when you cannot have, the company of your friends. They lack all the social skills, and they learn those social skills by being with peers. So
Mhm.
that has been very challenging. Now, I am part of CPAC, Special Education Parent Advisory Council, and the things that we see is just heartbreaking. There are, yes, we have children that have, ADHD, anxiety, depression. Okay, those are social disabilities that the children have, and they're manageable. They're challenging, but they're manageable. But the parents that have children with autism, uh, Down syndrome, they have children that are nonverbal. This is not the way to learn. This is not how they intended to learn. Children that are, kindergarten, pre-K, early childhood, this is not how they learn. They learn by being social. They learn by being in contact with their teachers, with their peers. So it is very heartbreaking, the things that I see. And as I work with parents, um, the fact that they also have no turnaround from their district, or they're trying to deal with IEPs, 504s, and this way of doing things nowadays makes it very, very difficult.
Right.
The turnaround time is even longer now. Parents are going crazy. What am I going to do? I have a question. I don't have nobody to ask. So it has been very challenging for these parents trying to cover all these services, kids that have speech, occupational therapy. Parents are in charge of this now, because you
Right.
cannot bring them physically to a place. This is happening virtually, okay, but how much occupational therapy can you do virtually? How much speech therapy can you do virtually? So it has been very challenging for families. As a child that has a social challenge, I can tell you that as of today, she was virtually 100%. Today is the first time that she's going to be going in person, and she's only going to be able to go one day. When I
Mm.
heard that, I was devastated. I said, no, this is not happening. This is not helping the situation. Okay, one day, and then the rest of the week, what happened? It's like a roller coaster. She's going like this, and then she's going to go like this. So
Right.
so it doesn't work for everybody. I wish that all children can be in person. My youngest one have been in person 3 days out of the week, and she needs that. She suffered from anxiety, and she says to herself, she's like, mommy, I need to be social.
Mhm.
I cannot be at home. So the fact that we are facing the possibility of being virtual again, I had the conversation with her, and she's like, please, this cannot happen. I cannot be at home. Her anxiety is already up here,
Right.
because they need this. They need to be with other children. They need to have that support. To give you an example about my youngest one, she's in person 3 days, but the days that she's at home, if she has a question, her anxiety is all over the place. I need to ask the teacher. I need to ask the teacher, but the teacher is
Mhm.
not there for her to ask. This works for now, but this doesn't work for everybody. And I'm not saying that there's a one size fits all for the education, but we need to find a way to do this in a safe way and in a way that it will work
Yeah.
for everybody.
Kilolo or Khadija, what are some of the supports and resources available for ELL families and students?
So from the district, I know our DOME department, as well as our Bilingual Education Council parent group, when they gather, they actually come in person. They've been meeting at Baden Street, and they're a very supportive group for our ELL learners. They have tried to make sure that we translate any materials and even just helpful videos, navigating through, the technology, the different programs that are being utilized, and that's available on the website. Parents can always reach out to the Office of Parent Engagement. We have bilingual staff that will help connect our parents to back to their schools and any resources that we can provide. A lot of times, though, we sit there and we listen to our parents and navigating them through some of those struggles and barriers that they're having. So again, they can always reach out to the Office of Parent Engagement. They can connect with the Bilingual Education Council because that in itself is a very strong group of parents that have ties with our community agencies. iBureau has been amazing with supporting the Bilingual Education Council, and, you know, providing even like backpacks. They did meals. They just did holiday baskets that they gave away. So those are just some of the supports, because again, even when we're talking about education and the struggles, we tend to kind of forget some of the other struggles that parents are going through with just being able to provide for their families. So at best, we serve as that resource hub for our families.
Wonderful. We do have a question from Facebook. This is from Mary. Mary says, given all the damage/challenges of 100% remote that have been mentioned, what are your thoughts about the needs for students to safely return to school buildings for some level of in-person instruction this year?
Can I jump into that, but also piggyback on what Khadija was saying? There's also CPAC, the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. So for those parents that have children with special needs, we are here for you guys. We assist everybody with being that bridge between the parents and the district, and also we can attend CSC meetings for you with you guys and walk you through the process. Also, if the parent really think that they need a different level of support, there's also family peer advocates like me that can help you navigate the whole process of a CSC evaluation and meeting and so on and so forth. My thoughts about this question is, I truly believe, I know, like I said before, there's not a one size fits all for education or for anything. Let's be for real. But I think those children that have 504s and IEPs should be the first one to be back in the building. They really, really are regressing right now. So all the progress that we have made throughout the years, and my journey, it has taken 8 years, and I'm still writing chapters in my book. It has been a very challenging journey. This is the reason why I do what I do, because I need to support other parents that are walking in my shoes. So I believe that children that have 504s, IEP should be the ones going in first and receiving the support that they need, and try to get back a little bit of what COVID has taken away from us. When it comes to the children coming back in the building, it can be done safely. The biggest challenge that our CSD has, being the biggest district in the area, is that the size of the district. So trying to make this possible with and also dealing with the behavior of everybody around it, because the children are the children. The adults are the ones that send the children home. So changing people's behavior is not our job, but if we change our own behaviors, we can expedite this process a little bit better and have our babies back to normal. They really, really need to be back to normal. This is a long way overdue.
Mhm. And just to add to that, I think that we need to acknowledge, and as being a part of so many meetings where I'm able to interface with the medical community, the reality is that it's not the schools where COVID is being contracted, right? It's in people's homes. It's in different spaces where people are out, and those are individual choices. So the safest place, from what I understand and from the medical community that I've been in contact with through my position at Rock the Future, it is actually safer for students to probably be in school. Now, with that being said, I'm not saying that it needs to be everyone is in the school at the same time. I understand that there may need to be, and there probably should be, shifts and some type of hybrid that is happening, which that's happening across other districts, just not in RCSD. Now, I understand why RCSD is making the choice, and we respect why they're making the choice to only provide in person for a specific group. And I agree with what Maria said, that students with special needs and IEPs absolutely should be in school. But I think the next group of students that also need to go in are the younger children, our pre-K to third grade. And I have I have a second grader who his energy is off the chain, but he has made so many gains, and I just want to shout out School 23, Miss Clayton, she is one of the best teachers that I've ever seen with my child. He has made so many gains with being with her, but I know that he could have made much more if they were in person. She even yesterday, when everything was asynchronistic because of the shutdown that they couldn't control, she was trying to make a way. And at 11 o'clock, when everything came back on, she was like, go ahead, have him log in. And they still went through class, even though they didn't necessarily have to. She just goes over and above and beyond as an instructor. And so as a parent advocate, I appreciate those types of teachers, though they're really, really needed. Unfortunately, everyone is not like that as well, and I acknowledge that. So so I know that it can be done. And the last thing I will say is that when they do the testing, that's one of the challenges that my child has really had. And so I know one of the questions that we were going to look at is, how can you advocate as a parent? And one of the things that I believe in is you have to be able to read your child and know what is not supportive of your child. And so when my son, it broke my heart this year when I saw him taking the NWEA test, and he just felt so defeated. He started speaking language of, I am a failure and I am nothing. Oh, I almost threw the computer, and I just said, we're not doing this. And I shut the computer down, and I texted his teacher and said, he is not going to be defeated by this test. This test does not create and establish who he is. And I'm sorry if you all don't agree with that, but I'm not letting him do this today. And so we exited out and we moved on. And I let him just do Legos for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. So sometimes as parents and in this space, we have to be the ones that are able to step up and not feel conflicted around that, but to say, this is what's best for my child today. And I refuse to allow him to have to do that, but, and to take this test, because he's internalizing that. And so those are some of the things we also have to really be able to jump in front of and say, no. And it's okay. If your child is not feeling well that day, tell them, okay, well, we're taking a family mental health day and we're not going online. All of us.
Good job, Mom. We have another question from Facebook. This is from Deb at PLTI, another great resource in Rochester, Parent Leadership Training Institute. She asks, how are parents supporting the planning to reopen brick and mortar buildings for parents who want or need this option?
So I would say that parents have been invited to task force meetings on the reopening to be able to express their concerns, to be able to give ideas of being able to go back into the buildings. And I do agree with what Kilolo and Maria has shared about being that advocate, knowing your child, knowing what's going to work for your child, and voicing that. And going beyond the voice of just being able to say it, but what does that look like? In Kilolo's household, we're not doing this today. And being able to comfortably say that, because the other part of it is she's also, again, that teacher, she's that parent. So making sure that we give parents that option to come to the tables, being a part of those reopening task force, coming to the board meetings, being able to speak to district leadership about what's going to work, what's possible to work, and looking at it as a very holistic process to it, right? Because there's different needs among different families. There are some families that this remote learning style works for, but that goes down to knowing your kid, knowing what works for your kid, and advocating for that best outcome. So I would say for parents to continue to show up at these parent group meetings, being at PCAN, being at CPAC, bringing those plans even to the boards. If you have ideas, bring those out. Have those discussions with district leadership. Have those discussions with your school teachers, because that's where a lot of those interactions need to take place, and helping to build that relationship. I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say it, that relationship building is important. We're very relational population. So having that outlook, and when you go to these meetings, having a plan. And sometimes, you don't know exactly what that plan is, but what I do know is what works for my child in this setting, or being able to be in a school building setting, and figuring that out.
Right.
To piggyback on that, I tell parents, speak up and be involved. So, hi Deb, thank you for the question. I gotta say, Kilolo and I are part of the reopening task force, Finger Lakes Reopening Task Force. We are also part of PLTI. PLTI is an amazing tool. This year's grad
Khadijah
class.
is also.
Oh my goodness, hey girl, great. So yeah, be involved, be speak up. Nobody knows your child better than you.
Mhm.
And all these conversations are happening, whether you are involved or not. It's gonna happen. The conversation is still gonna happen. How much of your opinion and your input do you want in those conversations? Be involved, be part of the conversation, and voice your opinion.
Wonderful. We have another question from Facebook. This is from Kimya. She asks, she says, parents are your child's first teacher. Absolutely. What initiatives are being discussed that focus on helping parents learn how to see everyday things as learning opportunities? So bottom line, schools opened or closed, virtual or face-to-face. How can we work with parents to face their first responsibility and not fear it, and provide support to or for them?
That's a great question. That's my mother. My mother was my first teacher, and she's a teacher in Cincinnati, Ohio, a math teacher. And so, thank you, Mom, for that question. I think that's a great question, though, and I think it's, like I said, it's about connecting with other parent organizations. There are also a lot of learning pod groups, right? And so there are small learning groups that are teaching outside of school, right? And so I would encourage parents to connect with those groups. Again, making every learning opportunity in life an option and a part of what you do with your children. Family board games are can be a form of learning with your children. And so it's about parents being able to do that research to connect with those organizations. As I said, the Facebook group, the Pecan Facebook group, is one way to do that. I know OPE also has resources that they offer that are on their Facebook and website. And so it's about just connecting into those programs and those groups that are doing the work to tap into, so that you can understand how you can best learn and teach your child.
Thank you,
Also,
Kilolo.
I'm sorry. Also, parents ask questions. So, like I said, I was a homeschooling parent, but I pay for the curriculum. I took care of the instruction. When we transitioned into COVID-19 homeschooling, I didn't know how Google Classroom looked like. Right now, my daughter is using a different platform. So ask questions. I sent an email to the teacher, and a teacher took 2 hours of her time to sit down and show me how to navigate the system. We have grandparents that are raising grandchildren, aunts, uncle, foster parents. We have parents that don't even have a high school diploma. How do we do it? By educating each other. Ask the question. Teachers are there to help you out. And I share this story with everybody. Both of my daughters, first kindergarten and first grade teacher, we started our relationship as her being my children teacher. We even go on vacation together right now. We are very good friends. Develop that relationship with the teacher. The teacher is part of your child's life. Make sure you know who's around your child and who's putting so much into your child's brain. So develop a relationship with your child's teacher, with the school, and make sure that the school is also there to support you. Ask the questions. We don't know. This is all new. I'm an 80s child, so technology for me is like Chinese. So I ask, and the teachers are there to support your child and also to support your family and support you personally.
Wonderful. We're hearing that word relationships a lot. And I do want to shift gears now and talk a little bit about teacher representation. Kilolo, we hear a lot of discussion about this. Teachers who look like the students that they're serving, Why is this important, and what's being done along those lines to help?
Thank you for that question, Tiana. So another, I think, piece of the report card that I looked at that really struck me was that 62% of the students in RCSD don't feel that they are being encouraged and pushed or motivated while they're at school. That's very telling. Now, I don't know if that is a reflection of the fact that only 13% of the teachers that teach in RCSD are teachers of color. And that is actually a percentage that is below the national average, that only 17% of nationally are of teachers in the workforce are teachers of color. But if we look at the population of the United States, we know that it is a melting pot of so many different cultural groups, right? And so what would it look like? What would it look like if the population of the teachers reflected the population of the students, right? And so I connect that to, and I think about HBCUs and the fact that the majority of HBCUs are the producers of teachers, are the producers of doctors, Black doctors and Black lawyers, right? And so being in a space where you are learning from other people that understand your cultural background and empower that cultural background, there's something to be said for that. And so Rock the Future acknowledges that and has been working for 2 years with the Teacher Pipeline Project to develop the Teach Rochester website. It's almost here. And so with the Teach Rochester website, it's going to help to increase teacher diversity in Rochester City schools through creative recruitment strategies. It's also supporting current educators of color in the RCSD, and also promotes the awareness of teaching opportunities for students that are in RCSD who are interested in teaching as a pathway after high school. The Teach Rochester website is the key recruitment tool for the Teacher Pipeline Project, and it's a partnership between the Ferris Charitable Foundation and Education Trust. Last week, I was able to participate in a virtual conference that Education Trust hosted, and their keynote speaker was Dr. Bettina Love, who is a nationally recognized in her teaching around what's called liberatory education or liberatory pedagogy. If you don't know who she is, you need to research her. She is amazing. But one of the best parts about her that she spoke about is that she is a product of RCSD, right? And she is a proud Rochester native. And so she shared how one of her teachers, I believe it was Mrs. Johnson, that she spoke about, how she encouraged her and pushed her while she was a student in one of the RCSD schools, and that she remembers that to this day. And so then we can also connect that with our new Vice President-elect, Kamala Harris, who was also a graduate of the Real HU, and I am a graduate of the Real LU, Lincoln University. So HBCUs are the place to be. I will say, I've got to hype them up. I wouldn't be who I am without doing that. But again, I just think that it shows that's the product of people that come out of spaces where it's an affinity space where they felt encouraged, they felt motivated and pushed, because not only because they were being taught by other people that looked like them and had their cultural backgrounds, but I believe that what would that be for children in Rochester to be able to feel that and to see that? And so we're really proud of the work that's coming out of the Teacher Pipeline Project and Education. Look for that. It's coming.
Kilolo, I want to piggyback on what you said, because I think that is important, having that representation. Dr. Bettina Love is a graduate of RCSD. I am a proud graduate of RCSD. So to be able to even come back in this supporting position of helping families and parents is very instrumental to me. I had teachers and other educators that looked like me, and really truly invested in that time. Our very own Dr. Leslie Myers Small was my high school guidance counselor. So to be able to be in the district and serve under her leadership is something that I'm very proud of. Very proud of the people that poured into me that I now sit at tables with. So being able to have those teachers in addition to the teachers, the educators around, it's like never discounting anybody that is in that school building that influences your child's lives. From, you know, you have the janitor, you have secretaries, you have support teachers, coaches, counselors, you know, so there are a number of staff that are in that building day to day that pour into our children. And to be able to have those individuals that look like them. School 22 has a very diverse teacher population. And I remember going over to the school and walking through the school with the principal, and it was so heartfelt to see not only teachers of colors, but male teachers of colors in that building. And the way that those students responded to those teachers were phenomenal. So I do wholeheartedly agree about, you know, teacher representation and wanting to see teachers of color, but also seeing those other faces of support staff that are in that building and how they pour into that children and their children and the importance of that. I still keep in contact with my home-based teacher from high school, and she was actually a science teacher in middle school, but that relationship got built to where I wanted to let her know when I graduated from college. I wanted to let her know when I had my child. I wanted to let her know when I, you know, went into my master's program. So making sure that you really build those relationships as parents, encouraging those students to build those relationships with teachers, support staff throughout that building, because those are going to be those individuals that are going to leave those lasting marks on our students as they go through life.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, as a Hispanic woman, I want to say that I would like to see representation because my children need to see somebody that they can look up to and a role model. But as a mom, I just want to see that person that can be a second mom. My baby said, "Mommy, but Miss, she's my mom. She's my mom. She's so dramatic." And I'm really looking forward to that person that can be that extra support for my child. Yeah, representation is very important, but I really want as a parent that my child is feeling supported and that they have somebody to look
Yeah,
up to.
and shout out to all the teachers and school support staff who are also on this roller coaster ride with us and really doing some innovative things to keep kids engaged and spending 2 hours, you know, with you, Maria, like when you needed it. So we are really thankful for all the teachers in our lives. And ladies, just thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with us this morning. Thank you to everyone in the audience for your participation and sending in your great questions. And a huge Rochester shout out to Jessica and Ryan, who are behind the curtain at Rock the Future, for coordinating these wonderful events for us. Rock the Future's State of Our Children address continues tomorrow at 2:30 right here on Facebook with a discussion on racism and education, asking the question, where do we go from here? Evan Dawson of WXXI's Connections radio show will MC. And the panelists tomorrow include Rock the Future Alliance Director Jackie Campbell, Wade Norwood, CEO of Common Ground Health, and RCSD Superintendent, Dr. Leslie Myers Small. We hope to see you then, and we hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us today.